Welcome to the Don Pod, the supporters podcast. Here's your hosts, Sam and Nath.
3, 2, 1, yeah!
The Dons show promise in wet and wild, but also kind of sunny at points conditions at Whitten Oval. The Dons down the Dogs, 11-11, 77 to 8-10, 58. Welcome back. That's the first match review. Sorry, what do they call it? Match sim review.
Yeah.
Of 2025. I'm joined by Nathan. I'm not even going to give you an adjective this week. Hi.
You know, I love the score 11-11-77.
Yeah,
that is one
rhymes.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing about AFL, like the score.
Can I just point out that the vibes compared to the season preview we did last week are immaculate. Last week we were both wearing black as though it was a funeral for a season that hadn't even begun. You're wearing your Essendon cap. I don't think you were wearing that last week.
Yeah, I was. I wear it every time, but that's all right. Thanks for noticing.
I'm always taken by the beard, though.
Shut up.
And I'm wearing Essendon attire, which is just, maybe symptomatic of how we feel.
Yeah. No, well, it was a very uplifting, positive game. Like, we saw so many things happen that made us happy that it's hard not to be. It's such a scary thing now because it's a place to come down from.
That's right. So I was sitting there thinking, we'll go into it a bit more, but this is good. Territory, we just killed them for large parts of the first half. Couldn't convert first quarter, which I can swallow that. I can take that.
I thought they were better in the first quarter. I thought they would probably won that quarter by
territory at the start.
Yeah, but I thought they looked like the better team in that first quarter. Then we had the wind in the second quarter, but we also then won the third, which was against the wind. So that's what I thought was impressive.
Run through some numbers, and then we'll get into into a deep dive. Down in the deep dive dark.
Will it be a deep dive?
It'll be a dive.
Yeah, just a dive.
Some sort.
It'll be deep.
Tom Edwards, SSP candidate, surely a lock at this point, kicks 4 in the second half alone, and you would just work this out, on average, that would be a 160-goal season.
Well, that's 8 a game in a real season, so that's timed by 22. That's like 170 odd, isn't it, or something?
We all know football is about maths.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
8 a game. If you can kick 4.5, you can kick 8 a game.
It's flawless.
Yep.
Perkins and Draper kick 2. Menzies can get stuffed, and then I can get used to hearing Kako and Caddy kick 1 each. I like that sentence.
I think there's a real.
Menzies can get stuffed in that sentence.
Oh,
Kako and Caddy. I'm just going to get used to saying their name together.
I think there's a real future with those two. They are going to feed. We're going to have. It's like the Rewalt and what was his name, the Tip Rat, and it was like Buddy Franklin and Rioli.
Buddy and Piopolo.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be a real connection between those two, and they're apparently good mates too.
They're very good friends. Tex Walker and Eddie Betts.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah,
Eddie Betts when he was at Carlton, because there was no real key forward there when he was there. For Vola, I guess they overlapped, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Vola was a very good forward.
He was very good. Leading possessions. Now, I'll just put a little asterisk on this. I don't know if these are exact or
not actually AFL sanctioned sort of data.
There was not a lot of stats for this game. It's all sort of fan driven and
a lot of the fantasy data drives these sort of things.
Yep. So Tsatas 32, Shiel 28, Dersma 25, and Hobbs 23.
Yep.
I want to start this off just by acknowledging the notable absentees from both sides, because I don't want to get carried away and just start talking about premierships or anything without at least saying the Bulldogs were without Treloar, Bontempelli, Liberatore, Bailey Dale, Liam Jones, Jason Johannesson, Jamara Ugle-Hagan, and Nick Caulfield. One of those doesn't belong in that sentence, but there's a lot of quality players there.
There's some very good players. They had such a pretty good fucking forward line as it was, and Ugle-Hagan wasn't playing. Jesus Christ.
And for us, missing Darcy Parish, Ben Mackay, Ridley, Durham, Gresham, Guelphy, Cox, Laverde, and Goldstein. Some of those more important than others. I think we can all sort of agree, but I think there's more class missing from the Bulldogs possibly than what was missing from us. I did like that our defence was pretty inexperienced in Reid and Hayes as the two main ones. Love that we got to see Draper mostly, I think it was, play a lot of forward time.
Yep.
Which was good. Kicked a very, very good goal. Our first goal of the day. Just
took some great marks too.
Yes, in very tough conditions.
Need someone in the back of the head.
We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
First quarter looked beautiful. And I knew I was up your way. I knew it had been raining, but it looked lovely. I was like, okay, interesting. Second quarter, absolute shit show.
Oh,
I can see the trees in the background.
Oh, it's horrible.
Sideways.
I was sitting at home going, I was thinking about going to this game. Thank God I'm not there.
Well, I would have had I not have been up your way. But yeah, very, very trying conditions. Very blustery, cold, very not February weather. I think is all that needs to be said. So, how do you want to do this? We just talk about vibes, talk about players, talk about our feelings and emotions, and.
Well, I think the best thing to do for this is players, because, I mean, I don't think there's much point being too analytical about the game, because we talked about the Western Bulldogs. They had a lot of players not playing, and then they had a really big list too. I think they had 5 or 6 more players coming in and out of the game than us. So they were rotating a lot more. They changed a lot more at halftime, whereas we had a few changes at halftime. But I felt like we were just sort of going into the game with a bit, no, here's our 25-6. We're going to play these guys and give them all a pretty good run.
Yeah. So I think
it's about the players.
The one standout in that case that we need to mention off the bat is Elijah Tsatas.
Yep.
86
touches.
86% centre bounce attendances. One of your favourite stats.
I do love
that equated to 19 centre bounce attendances.
Which was the most.
He played the full game. That was the most. Don't have numbers on his clearances. However, Woodsy off X. I've nabbed this from him again.
Yep.
Margin for error here, but it'll be close enough. 10 kicks, 21 handballs, 4 tackles, 3 free kicks, 4, only 1 against, which is nice. 4 inside 50s, a 91 fantasy, which that Supercoach, that's over 100.
It's an interesting fantasy perspective because he's 600,000. So,
really?
Yeah, he's not. I expect him to be cheaper, but because he's played a bit of footy last year in the M4, so they value him up a bit.
Interesting. What really stood out for me, he was clean.
Yeah.
And he made good decisions. There was only about once when he was running through the middle and he had a little handball out to a guy who was under far less pressure.
Yep, I do remember that one.
It. Other than that, he made the right decision every time.
Do you know what stood out to me?
Yes, go.
His size.
He looked big, didn't he?
He looked bigger. Like, I don't see these guys.
Sorry.
Yep.
Too soon. Too soon.
Whatever
it takes.
It's always going to be too soon. He just looked like a good-sized football player. Like, I thought the first few years as a midfielder, and a clearance midfielder, he looked too small. And I guess that, paying under 18 footy, you can get away with that because there's not,
you're playing against guys your own age.
Yeah, that's right. Whereas when you hit the big boys and you play that sort of inside mid and you're playing against Cripps and Bontempelli and those sort of guys, like, you are tiny. Like, you just get pushed out of the way. So it takes a bit of time to build that body. And he looks like, I just thought his thighs were big, his arms and shoulders looked big. Yeah, so that's what stood out to me. Also the skill and what he did, but all right, he looks ready now.
I was just really impressed by the decision making, I think, and then picking the right handball. I think so often I get frustrated with our clearance work. I know we're actually okay with centre clearances in particular.
Yep.
But we just seem to over handball or just go one too many, or we pick the wrong option and we get the first disposal out of the clearance, but then we give it back. Yep. And I just think he's handballing on both sides of his body as well. Just really stood out to me.
It's the thing we needed, though. We need extra. We've talked about this for a while. We need more pressure on spots. And one of those spots has to be midfield. I thought the other kid you could throw in there that had a pretty good game was Hobbs.
Yeah, I knew where we were going with that.
Yep. So
he was 14 centre bounce attendances.
Yep. And I thought he did some really good things. He still sort of play like he gets caught ducking. Like, he's one of those guys that when he gets tackled, he sort of ducks his head trying to get the free kick. He doesn't have that technique of lifting the arm up. Like,
he's a bit of a
but that's fine. The one I want to quickly talk about is Dill.
Big Dill.
Dill pickle.
Much maligned, yeah.
Maligned.
That's fair, yep.
Essendon, we've probably given him some stick over
Brent
the time.
Stanton would be jealous. That's how much he's maligned, yep.
Here's a question I have for you, Sam. You've been saying for a while that we need a senior, experienced player to go down halfback, to play as halfback. A leader of types.
Yep.
He's 31. He's played at 2 clubs. He's been, he's a senior figure. He's, he's an excellent trainer, excellent, leadership in that sort of quality.
He's hot. Yep.
Do you think that the next 2, maybe 3 years, I don't know how long he's got left in him, his body, that becomes his role?
So that was a long question, and I've kind of forgotten the start of it. Partially because
is he the Luke Hodge? Is he our Luke Hodge that we found internally that we couldn't find externally?
No, I don't think he's that kind of player. However, I think he'll be very good on halfback. And there was moments where, he had, what did I say he had disposals wise?
He had about 27, yeah.
Fair majority of them would have been kicks, I think, in that role.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's fair to say. And he missed 2 kicks, I think, where I went, for God's sake, Bill. But
and it was windy. It
was a low percentage, so I got to grow up and get over that. What I loved was he was in dangerous positions, so he was occasionally kicking inside 50, which I don't hate. He ran through 4 of them at one point. He just accelerated and burnt.
This is the thing that excites me, is that his attributes, speed,
runner.
Skill, and good reader of the play and all those sort of things are really good in that role. What worries me is that can he defend as well?
Well, he punched a couple of times. I think I text you saying he's made the right decisions aerially a couple of times.
I think Dyson was getting stuck into him because he may have hung shit on him for his whole career. The fact that he's never
defended.
Never defended.
Can I just say, as a Bulldog fan, I would have hated that commentary.
Oh,
it was so Essendon centric. Obviously, with a guy like Heppel, that's going to happen. But I would have hated it as a Dogs fan. My God.
I don't. The thing that I found fascinating about Dylan is that not Dylan.
Dyson.
Dyson.
Why are we first naming them?
I don't know about Heppel because he's a commentator now. He's not a player.
That's true.
About Heppel was that how he's so awkward in that everyone was Jordo, Davo, Smitho.
Oh yeah, nicknames.
Even somebody had a set shot and he said Seto. Just call it a set shot, mate. That's a great Seto from Davo.
There's half of this which is just Dyson Heppel from Liam Gather. He talks like an Aussie bogan. That's Seto. And then the rest of it is just, he's only been out of the club for 4 months.
Yeah.
And he would still know all these guys by nicknames. There were names I'd never heard. He called Perkins something obscure.
Yeah, I like Pup for that new kid Clark because he looks like Red Dog.
Oh, I thought it was a reference to Michael Clark. Pup.
Oh no, I thought it was because he looked like Red Dog.
Because we used to call Michael Clark
I know.
Pup. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah. Look, I have no.
Shiel.
Yeah, sorry.
The done pod.
Yeah, so I'm very excited by that move. I think that's a great move for us. If he can defend, now not many. You can't look at that game and say he's going to go like that every week.
God, no. It's one game and it's a preseason.
I would imagine most teams might put a bit more effort into him than the Western Bulldogs did.
Well, there's that, and I think the other positive of this is that it releases Martin up the field, who wasn't brilliant, I don't think, by any stretch.
Doesn't matter.
I don't have the stats on what he played.
Doesn't matter. He did his thing.
We know that under the roof at Marvel, he's going to be a pretty bloody good player, and I don't think, even at the MCG, you're not going to get a lot of games like that.
No.
So yeah, I think it's good. And again, we warmed to Shiel at the end of last year because he had to work his way back into that team. And I don't think me or you were overly a fan of Nick Martin as a half-back. He seems to be a hell of a lot more damaging when he's up the other end of the ground. So
I just think that the win for me in this decision, and this is the win-win, is that Dylan Shiel gets to come back into the team and play a valuable role. Mm-hmm. And Nick Martin, who's the 24-year-old or wherever he is, gets to now play a much more valuable role in his career and for the club. So I think that's the win-win.
He's a guy that can have 25 and kick 4 goals.
We know he can. He's done it before, a couple of times. Yeah. So that's more valuable than him getting 33 off the halfback line and us losing by 50 points.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yep. Very good. I'll briefly touch on Brian and Draper. I think they played really well, but you also have to sort of say they were playing against a ruckman who's vying for an SSP spot in Crossley.
He did pretty well too, that young fella.
He was. He's strong.
Well, he's probably an old fella actually. He's probably
big guy.
Yeah,
but
he did. I noticed his rucking style wasn't that run and jump. He got flogged a lot in the centre bounces, especially when Draper jumped on him.
Yeah,
but around the ground, he was strong. They couldn't move him.
I don't feel like I saw Tim English an awful lot in the ruck at all.
Well, this was the fascinating thing about the Dogs forward line, and I felt a bit sorry for Reed and Hayes. So it was Tim English was up there, who's 200 and odd centimeters. They had what's his
Norton.
name? Who?
Norton?
Oh yeah, no. And then they had the other
Sam Darcy. Yeah, he was
Darcy.
very good first half.
And he's 205 or something centimeters. I'm going,
yes.
cheapers creepers. And all we had was Hayes and Reed.
He outstretched Reed at one point. I was like, oh shit. But then I went, okay, well, if Mackay's in that back six, we get a bit more support. So settle down, Sam. That's me, not Darcy.
No. And the other one I was impressed just on the back six too. If we go through that was Pryor.
Yeah, he was solid. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was solid. Good disposal again. Just calm. Weird seeing the 25 on
guy didn't quite work out. I couldn't handle Menzies with Kelly's number on it. That really. Why would you take that number?
Number with a
Why would you have taken that number?
Do you know what else was weird?
It was Grenfold.
Probably a good segue.
Yeah.
You know, I love my segues.
I'm going to get you one for your birthday.
Well, that's a decent present, actually. Tom Edwards wore the number 14. Now, he's kicked 4 goals and a half of football.
Ridley?
The regular number 14's kicked, I think, 2 goals ever.
Wow.
In AFL. So,
again, Dyson did make a reference to that. He'd be going, Rids, gave him his nickname, whatever it was.
Yep.
Yeah, he'd be going, he'd be pretty pumped with this. He's never kicked this many goals in his career.
We don't even have Jai Menzies as 29 on our spreadsheet. Is that actually official?
Well, it must be. He's wearing it.
I thought I updated all of this.
Yeah. Anyway,
sorry.
I thought Pryor was quite good, and you can see that he's got that, 40-odd games of experience, played at a good club, like Brisbane. He just did the things right. Bit like Edwards, who we've been talking about, 25-year-old kid from WA. Well, not really a kid at 25, I guess. No. But what stood out to me was he just he got the ball, he kicked it to the right spots, he got the ball, he handballed, he got the ball, took the mark. It was like, this game's pretty straightforward.
The bit I loved about Edwards, his 4th goal, he was sort of like Nath. 30 out, and it was just so pure.
Yeah.
It just looked so nice. And, I mean, again, not a kid at... Did you say he was 25 or that Pryor's 25? Okay.
No.
Not a kid at 25, but you're looking for little bits like that go, oh, yeah, you've got a bit. You've got something that we can develop.
If he turns into a decent player, I'm going to have to ask West Coast and Freo, what are their recruiters doing over there? Like,
I think there's
Nick Martin and him.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Well, I'm just saying, both of those ones, if big call on Edwards, but Nick Martin already, he was running around in their waffle going, doopy-doopy-doo, and they was like, nah, ignore him.
Well, I think there's a little
West Coast, when they were rubbish, they should have been looking at that kid and go, well, we should give him a go.
Some of our better players in Martin, Durham, that's it, actually. But they're both mid-season or SSP, and it's like, so many other clubs. All the other clubs have passed on both of these guys.
Was Draper...
Draper was rookie draft. He was same a year as McGrath.
Yeah, fair enough.
That haunts me, because I think genuinely our number 1 pick in the rookie draft was better than the number 1 pick in the national draft.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, who else do we need to talk about? I thought Kane Baldwin did a few nice things, just as someone else who's vying for that last spot.
I feel like he's going to not get it because of Edwards' 4 goals. So, I think he's a handy player, but
I'd love to have them both. I think they both have value. But the critical thing is Edwards has played 1.5 a game of football, and yes, it was nice. It was good to watch, but we do have one more preseason game. I don't know when the lists have to be.
I think it's Friday they have to make that decision. Okay. Yep, so he's going to miss... whatever decision's going to be made on that. It's Edwards. You have to pick Edwards. You have to pick the guy who kicks 4 goals and a half of football. You have to. Like, if we don't pick him, Richmond or any other club would go, well, he's coming to train with us. Like, we have to pick him. Like, that can't be passed. I don't think.
Yep, that's fair. There's half of me that thinks it's 1 game, so it's probably going to come down to a bit of training as well. But
now I want to talk about the Rucks.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I started talking about them.
Yep, you did talk about that. Yep. And my question is, can you see a world where it's Brian, Wright, and Draper?
Well, Wright was second half.
And then does Jones play in that game as well?
Okay, so there's a broader question here than just Rucks.
How many tools we play forward? Yeah.
Harry seemed to be up the ground a little bit more.
Yeah, but I don't know if that works. I saw that in the first half, but then you've got like Dersma, you've got Martin now pushing back there, got Durham, you know, so many other guys that I think are better wingmen than Jones.
To your question,
yep,
Wright's the one that misses right now for me.
Yeah,
I think I'm happy
fair.
to have the two ruckmen. I'm happy to have Caddy. I'm happy to have Jones, who I don't think we mentioned
Langford,
when we spoke about this last week. And Langford. I think that's tall enough without Pete.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fucking Caddy nearly took a hanger to end all hangers, and
That's a good call. But yeah, it was a
you
good
know, but
effort.
he's 193 or 194, whatever he is. But he
plays
plays so
tall.
much taller than that.
Yes, you're right.
And Pete just looked a bit meh again. I wasn't really excited.
Well,
He played VFL as well. He
Yeah,
must have played
and we
half
didn't
the
see
game
that, obviously.
there.
I think the question for me is marking. And at the moment, until Pete gets his marking sorted, because what's standing out to me for Draper is that he's becoming a bit of a kick out of trouble. Like when we're in a bit of trouble, and he's the guy you kick to a one-on-one or a little bit of a 2 or 3, you know, on 2 or whatever, and he's taking those marks. He's hitting packs and going boom. Whereas Pete's not doing that, and that's what he needs to do with his size and ability. So.
And
I think it's an interesting one anyway moving forward. I'm happy I'm not picking them.
and it'll be interesting to see what we do against Geelong. I think there's more controls in place for those actual AFL sanctioned.
I think it'll be more of a regular game.
Because this is just the clubs that are going, we'll play you here at this time. Yep, no worries. Get the umpires in. And
Yep. And we're going to play that opening round game against Gold Coast only a week and a bit after that. So you'd think we'd want to have what we're doing that week pretty
that
much
game against Geelong is going to be pretty much...
Yeah, you
Well,
would
it's
assume.
not round one team, but
Very
all those
close to it.
guys that we're just nursing now might play half a game.
Because we're 10 days away from that game, or 9 days or whatever away from that game. That's the 25th or something.
Yeah.
And so you think if Ridley's fine, he comes back. If Mackay's fine, he comes back. If who else
Durham.
missed? Durham, yes.
Which is a
Definitely
really
not
interesting
Definitely
thing.
not Parrish, he'd be the only one. And here's one. Laverde did not play.
Yeah, unsure why that was. The other one's got to come back in is Gresham. I assume he's still
Well, he played the
in
Indigenous
that
game.
front. Yeah, I know, but I mean, he's going to play round one, you'd think.
You'd think so, yeah, yep. So there's 4.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned this, I think, before we hit record, that there feels like there's a bit of pressure on spots. You and I do this best 22 that we generally don't share. And
It's the
for the
not
first
best 22,
time,
we call it. Yeah.
we're going, oh, fuck, okay, hang on. There's like 4 guys that can play here. And
Yep.
with Durham coming back in and Parrish, what does that mean for Tsatas even?
Yeah, well,
How
that's
do you
right.
boot him
You
out of
have
that
to play,
midfield right
have to
now?
play Tsatas at the moment. And then there's guys like, you know, who like Sada Al-Hawaii, like he was very
great.
good.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
solid.
he was very good.
I listened to his name get called 48 times and could not hear how he was saying it. I was literally going, like, leaning into the tally going, how is he saying that? Because I want to get it
Leaning to the
right. It's a
tally.
respect
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
No.
And as we mentioned earlier, I thought Jackson Pryor, and then you got Archie Roberts, who played the 6 games last week. He didn't have a great game, but he played 6 of those last games last year. So
Yeah, Robbo,
is he
yep.
close to playing? I thought Lewis Hayes, who's our best and fairest winner from last year in the VFL, he played really well. So. And the one other one who we put a bit of pressure on in the preseason was Perkins, who I thought
Had
was
a very
really
good,
good.
3 minutes, particularly. Kicked 2
I
goals.
thought he
in
played a pretty good
succession.
game, actually. And I think that him and Durham would be your stringer sort of replacements in that they're guys that can go forward, kick a goal,
And then roll through the guts.
and then roll through the midfield and have some influence.
I think, Durham's going to be predominantly midfield, whereas I think Perkins will predominantly be forward, but you get that bit of flexibility.
Well, what were Perkins' CBAs for the game?
That's a very good question.
Thank you.
P. Erkins attended 6, which was just over a quarter.
Yeah. So that's
Played the full game.
yeah. So maybe that's what we're expecting from him in a game of football.
Yeah. Brian took most of the ruck in the middle.
And that's
60%.
I think that's the way they're going to play it.
Yeah. I liked him. I think we talked about Crossley at the Dogs, who was just big. But the real standout for Brian was that around the ground, and the mobility that he brings was very clear against probably a much stronger guy, just through age and experience. Because I think Crossley was at Gold Coast. Was it Gold Coast somewhere else?
I'm not sure. Yeah. But there, Bryant, he can pick the ball up off the ground. He did that a few times. He ran with the midfield and got a handball receive and gave it again. You know, like that's
It's my number one footballing philosophy, by the way.
Yeah,
if I was a coach, don't handball to a ruckman.
But when they're running along with you,
don't. Fuck him.
Okay, he's here. So, yeah, we're talking about the pressure for the spots. It will be interesting. Even I saw McGrath go into the midfield for one.
He had one CBA. I picked up on that 2 minutes. Hang on a minute.
He lost.
But he played a full game.
Couldn't make it all the way to the back.
Played a full game and only did one. So I don't think that's any sort of plan. They might have just fucked up their rotations or something. The other one we need to mention, Jai Caldwell, played 3 quarters. Yeah. Solid.
Still, is he the most beautiful man ever?
He might be. Zachy Merritt played half a game. Nothing really to write home about there.
He was fine.
He made a couple of mistakes. He was still hanging shit on the umpires, which I thought was funny. I feel like it's a warm up for the umpires too. Like you're not
judging umpires in these games.
Experience as well. They need a preseason. That's okay. Setterfield played second half and a bit of VFL as well. Didn't do anything that really got me going.
No, he's just a VFL player. I think you're a backup. I think he's a backup of the backup, to be honest. Yeah. I think guys like Guelphy might have missed their boat with their. He's got that 12-week injury. You can't see him pushing into that side.
Yeah, injuries aside, yes.
I mean, Edwards, if he gets a list spot, I don't think he'll play round 1 or anything. But
lovely bit of depth in the VFL if that's what you're going to bring to the table.
But he could, if he kicks 3 or 4 goals in each week in the first VFL games, you're going to be,
there's
you might have to give
pressure
him
on
a look.
Spots. This is good. The glaring omission from this conversation, is the Coleman remake number 10, in essence only. Isaac Kako. We haven't spoken about.
That's the last.
Sorry.
No, we're not sorry.
No, we're not. But his goal. What impressed me so much was that it was a lovely kick, first and foremost. He was off balance and still got it in the right spot. But he'd done so much groundwork before that to keep the ball, maybe even win the ball back, and then kicks the goal himself.
Yep.
It was a moment. It was one moment in a game of football, but fuck, it was nice. And he was quick. He was on him. It was like Waller. You just sneak up on him and hit him. Why aren't you talking?
Oh, sorry. I was just thinking about what you were saying, and I was like, oh.
Am I wrong?
Look, no, you're not wrong.
Okay.
What really impressed me more so was his pressure. Was that he harassed and he tackled and he chased, and I think that's been a massive.
Isn't that what I just said?
Yeah,
but I'm saying absolute donuts.
No, sorry. I was just dreamed off into the distance thinking about.
You went.
Well, I was gone. I was thinking about Davey, and I think, why couldn't he have done that last year?
It's too early for that. Let's.
Yeah. Sorry. But no, him and Caddy are going to be a great little 10, 12 year, probably longer than that actually, sort of career of players. Like, just it's exciting to think. And look, last week or the week before we did that preseason podcast?
Last week.
Last week. I walked away from that a bit down. And this goes back to the start.
We were a bit flat, weren't we?
Yeah, start of this chat. Is that I was a bit, oh, God, I think we looked ordinary. God, I think we're going to be ordinary. But the thing that, and hope kills you, Andy Dufresne, is that Reed looked good, Clark looked good, Caddy looked good, Kako looked good. Like all these young kids that we've got so much hope on, they looked good, and I thought, if we could, this year we get to the end of the year, if we're half decent, we get 2 first-round draft picks, we bring in some more young talent, good kids, even maybe try and draft in someone a bit older. I don't know what we do, but...
Melbourne's first-round pick, we got 2 first-round picks this year.
I don't know, maybe, for the first time in a while, and it was, coming off last week, I thought, maybe it's not as bad as I think.
Well, that was sort of my next question, and I think finish up the conversation on Kako first, just to say... he's got expectation, I think, generally, because we have been so desperate for this small forward. But he doesn't necessarily need to hit the scoreboard. He does need to kick goals, but it doesn't need to be all the time or a lot. If he can bring that energy and that intent to just hunt the opposition, it makes such a difference when you've got guys in your forward line that can put pressure on and help keep the ball there.
Well, last year, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, our stats was something along the line of that. We were very good at centre clearances. We were very good at getting the ball.
Very good at inside 50s, yes.
But we could not hold it in.
Scoring
Yeah. So that. I don't want to blame Jake Stringer.
No, you can't blame. It's a back.
Caddy,
it's a
you can see Kako's a different sort of player already. In that he's all about the pressure and he's all about harassing and chasing, but he's also got the skill when he gets the ball to do something with it. It's not just like that's my only attribute. I'm chasing.
Yeah. It's exciting. I mean, we all loved Waller. Because he did two things. He kicked goals and he put pressure on and hit blocks and tackled. And that's just, if Kako can bring that in his own way, I think they're going to be different players because Waller was a stocky geezer.
And they're both quick too, was another thing too. Kako's got some toe about him.
Yeah. And not great weather for goal scoring either, it has to be said, in that particular game.
No.
Anyone else you want to highlight? Redmond only played half a game but looked okay.
Did Redmond things. Got a lot of kick-ins.
Senior player doesn't need to really do a lot in a preseason game.
Just get through it. I'll tell you the other highlight, biggest highlight probably of the game. Not one injury.
Oh, yes. That is
it was reported no injuries, so I was like,
point in time, yeah.
So let's take that as the biggest win for the game.
Honestly, yes. I think it would have broken my soul to see Zach Reed. I mean, some guys you can cover, let's be real. But just clean bill of health. Especially to the keys. Great.
Yeah. Let's hope Reed can get through the Geelong game. And there's so much hope that I just want him to play 22 games this year. It was
kind of perfect for him. The ball didn't go in there a lot. We did sort of control from quarter time onwards. We did control territory for a long time. And I was sort of thinking, I remember seeing Hayes a lot in the first quarter, and I'm like, fuck, I haven't seen him for a while. But it's just because the ball was living in the forward line for so long, particularly second quarter.
Yep.
We're not going to do votes, obviously. That's a bit of a waste of breath at this point in time.
And again, this is all in context. The Doggies, who I think are going to be a very good team this year, very, very good team. But they were mixing things up. They were playing around with stuff, and they were testing
classy plays. You can't even put Darcy Parish against what they were missing. Bont's one of the best players in the comp.
Yeah, Bont's
Trelaw is very good.
But we played well, which is just nice because last year in this the corresponding game was when we played St Kilda
out at Moorabbin
and got touched.
Do we ever play these friggin' preseason games at home? I feel like we haven't played. Why don't we play
home? Playing at Windy Hill?
No.
The training, the
hangar.
Ballamarine.
20 minutes away from me. Mind you, West Footscray's really close.
Not that far, But, the next game's at Geelong in Geelong, which we've done a couple of years in a row now, so maybe that's just good
honestly,
practice.
Geelong's a good test. I don't mind playing Geelong every year because they're bastards to beat.
Are they playing in the opening round too? There's a question. Because if they're not, then they might not be rolling out their best team. But if they are...
Your favourite kind of question, one without notice.
Well, that's what all questions should be.
Why does the AFL website not have... Oh, it's because I picked preseason, don't worry. They are opening the season against the Brisbane Lions.
Well, there you go. So they will be playing their best team.
They play 2 days before us, so they're probably going to be more interested in...
Yep. So they're going to... Well, this is going to be great for us. We're going to really see where we're at.
Yep.
So that's good.
Yep. We're not going to see Caddy quite as quickly as we thought. We were all teed up for that tomorrow
in person,
night.
yes.
Because Dale Tapper's funeral is tomorrow.
Monday, yes. Yep.
Monday.
Yeah, tomorrow. That's fair enough. I was a little bit disappointed, but it's a pretty good reason.
You can't really argue.
No, it's hard to argue. You'd be an asshole, wouldn't you?
But
I want to go to my function.
Yeah, I want to go to No. Obviously we play Geelong on the 25th of Feb down there in Geelong. We'll review that game as well.
Yeah, definitely. Look forward to it.
The VFL did play a practice match and got done by 20-odd points after the AFL. I thought that was an odd choice to put them after the AFL.
I thought it was before.
No, they played after.
Would have been late.
They kicked off at 5.
There you go.
You know what I liked? And I don't advocate this probably season proper, but just the half an hour quarters. No time on. No clock stopping. That anxiety that I get at the end of quarters, it really helped because the clock just kept going.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
That was great.
Yep.
I don't know if anyone else noticed that.
Caddy's goal at that half time.
Oh, that was a beautiful strike, wasn't it? in tough conditions. Like,
I love that he's got the bleach blonde hair. Like, that's just look at me.
I loved what Brad Scott said about it. Now, Brad Scott's the kind of guy that I think if you rocked up to training with bleach blonde hair and you were a bit of a lazy prick, he'd be like, "What are you doing?"
I don't think he would have accepted. Like, I don't think him and Ackermanis would have been mates at Brisbane Lions.
Probably not. But I mean, what he said about Cads was that it doesn't matter because he puts the work in.
Yeah, that's right.
He's in a hurry to be good.
Well, his time trials were unreal too.
Like, likes this about a guy.
Yeah.
You know, if we got someone who wants to be a superstar and he's willing to put in the work to do it.
Hey, back on that Edwards, the other thing too I found interesting was that in the interview with Gene Siracusa at the end, he was saying that like we recruited him sort of as a lead up forward, like, you know, he's 191, so, you know, 6'2" or whatever it is, yeah, like. So, and, you know, his overhead sort of skills and marking and all this sort of stuff. And then he goes and shows us what he can do when the ball hits the ground on a wet day.
I don't think he kicked a single set shot, did he?
And he's also, the other draw card, too, was his athleticism. Like, runs up and down the ground all day, too. So, which I'm like, we really are targeting those players. We're only 3 or 4 years behind everyone else, but we're doing it. Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yep.
I found it funny that he obviously hadn't had any sort of fitting for his attire for the day. That was all way too big, sort of, and he just looked like...
Well, you showed the size of Rids, didn't you? Much bigger.
Rocked up on the dame. Yeah, wear that one. Has anyone got a size medium
shorts I can borrow? When Laverty's, he's not here
He really stood out just as a bit of a country footballer rocking up and playing with the big boys.
And when you look at his photo from the like the waffle, he's wearing a tight top, you know, like he looks lean still. He reminded me a bit of like Will Hoskin-Elliott, you know, sort of.
Yeah. Odd one to pull out of thin air, but yeah, I can see it.
Well, is that half forward, awkward height, skilled, you know. Will Hoskin-Elliott is a good football player.
Decent footballer, yeah. Is he still on there?
He's the one at Brisbane. Sorry, Collingwood.
He won a flag.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the one I'm thinking of. He's a handy little football player.
My career highlight of Will Hoskin-Elliott was getting shackled by Waller on Anzac Day.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah,
years ago, probably at this point. But
yep.
I thought we'd talk for longer about this, to be honest. But I'm kind of.
That's all right. We don't have to talk.
Much else to say.
If there's that much to say, hey, I do have something else to say.
Please.
I just wanted to thank all the comments from last week. It's really nice to get so many positive sort of comments about something that we think no one really listens to. Let's be honest, Sam. I know Sam loves it because he doesn't have many friends. So any positive sort of word on him, he really cheers him up for the week too.
I echo that, not the friends bit, but I was just surprised. This is all on YouTube because that's where we get most of the comments. I don't know if we get comments on all the other ones. No, we don't.
Oh no,
there's nothing on YouTube. But it was just, you know, nice to have you back. Glad you're back. And I was just like, oh shit. It just dawned on me that people listen to this. And it really blew my mind, to be honest. And you're right, I don't have many friends. I really... It's normally me that brings this up, actually, and I'm a bit ashamed that I didn't mention it at the start, because it was lovely. It was...
I know, I'm a better person, what can I say?
Yeah, all right, you can have it. I'm not going to argue at this point. Anyway... Anything else on the game? Do you want to amend your prediction, just ladder position prediction for the season, or is it too soon?
It's too soon. No. I mean,
I'll say 10th instead of...
We could go to Geelong and lose by 30 and we'll go, geez, our back six, and Reid comes down with injury and, you know, who knows? Like, I touch wood. But, look, I still think I really like that we've got young kids playing. I really want to see guys like Hayes play in front of Laverde. I want to see, you know, guys like Al Hawi. You know, like I want to see those kids out there on the ground because clearly that is our only way forward. Like it's not the guys, it's not the Guelphis, it's not the Laverdes, it's not the, you know, like Kelly's gone. You know, they weren't the guy. They had their chance, didn't make it. Mm-hmm. So we have to try someone else and see if the next batch is better. Now you can't do all that in one hit. Obviously, I get that. You have to sort of blend them through, but
well, I mean, and this has raised more questions for me than I've got a few answers, but you know, I still that midfield is still seriously stacked. And when we've heard all that we've heard about Tsatas through training reports and, you know, all these people on Twitter who I can't mention them all, I'll run out of time, but so much hype around him, and then he comes into a game against another AFL side, and he's backed it up.
Yep.
And then you go,
So
well,
if you
shit,
do week in,
Durham
week out.
didn't play, Parrish didn't play.
Yep.
How the hell are we going to do this? But that's a good problem to have.
I think that if you look at the midfield, Parrish still when he's fit comes back in there, but it's now it's like who was that midfielder? It was 5, 6, 7. I thought that was. Did you notice that? It was 5. The numbers was 5, 6, 7. I really want an 8. Like I want the ruckman to be 8, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Well, Hobbs is 8. He's around there.
Yeah, true. So it was Tsatas, Merritt, and on the first bout, and Caldwell. So you're like, well, Parrish pushes into there. I still think you might find that he'll play midfield, but it might be a more half forward midfielder. Like I think with his attributes of his marking capability, that I think that they'll use him more as a forward than a midfielder.
The real thing here is that clearly Elijah Tsatas is an inside midfielder.
Yeah,
and if we're going to play him in the AFL side and he finds himself on a wing, I'm going to be pissed off.
Exactly, and that's my point. Is that I think that the fact that Tsatas is clearly an inside midfielder and could be a very good one is more important, maybe not more important, I don't know, than Durham playing in that midfield role. Whereas I think his attributes can be more as a half forward and
Durham,
a midfielder.
I'm happy to have in that conversation. I'd almost say at this point, well, where's Parrish in that conversation as a 29-year-old? Or whatever he is.
He's still there. He's, 27, 28.
That's the next question about a guy who's been perpetually injured for the last 3 seasons.
Well, I think what this gives you, though, is you can say to Parrish, look, you don't have to hurry, mate. Get this back right. Maybe come a couple of games of VFL. That would... Yeah, but he doesn't get to come straight back into the seniors. Like, let's see if the back's fine. Play some one game VFL, and then if that's fine, then push him in.
This is all...
I think it puts pressure on the Greshams and the Guelphy I mentioned, like those half forwards, if they're not performing, like Gresham kicked 19 goals last year from 22 games.
As a predominant forward, yeah.
As prominently a forward. Like, do you say, well, I think Durham can do a better job of that. I think Edwards could possibly have one half a game. I think Kako could do a better job than that. So, they're the that's where I think the pressure comes from, because these guys have to play. I don't know how you do it, but you can't. Again, you don't leave Parrish out.
This is all hypothetical, and we have no idea. And I'm just worried that I'll see Elijah Tsatas on the wing round 0.
We won't. I can guarantee we
won't. I'm not a fan of playing Durham anywhere else other than the midfield. To be honest, I don't want him in the forward line. I want him in the midfield because he gives us.
I don't want him on a wing.
Pace on the outside.
But he can play on a wing, or he can play on a half forward and come up to after his centre bounce, he can come into the game.
You are forgetting how good he was in the middle last year.
He was very good, but...
No.
I mean... So who do you take out? Caldwell?
No, Parrish isn't in my equations because he hasn't played bloody football for so long.
Yeah, I still think he's in the equation. But this is, again, this goes back to the...
Very good problems to have.
Yeah, great problems to have. So let the Essendon Football Club decide.
And let all of us numpty bloody supporters talk about it. And it's a good conversation to have. And I don't. There's not a right answer because we don't know. Like you're not right. I'm not right. We just sit here and talk about it. One of us might be right, and the proof will be what happens. But I'm happy to have a midfield of Caldwell, Tsatas, Durham, and Merritt in rotations, whatever. That's a pretty good midfield to me. But
okay, let's do this another way. Let's talk about Brisbane's midfield that they'll be rolling this year.
I'd rather not think about that.
But they're going to have Dunkley, Neil, what's his name? The one that should have went to Ashcroft, and the other really good.
The other Ashcroft.
Well, he probably won't play straight away in the midfield, but there's the other kid, McCluggage. That's what I'm thinking of. So there's 4. Is that 4 or 5 I named?
It's a deep midfield, I know.
That's 5. There's 5 midfielders that are unreal.
McCluggage was playing predominantly wing by the end of the season, so that's... I'm talking your middle. I'm not talking about wingers.
Okay. Whereas I think Durham's the wing that comes in and plays the McCluggage.
He was a very good winger, but we chucked him in the guts last year and went, holy crap, this guy's actually really good at being a midfielder.
Because who are we saying? It's Merritt, Tsatas, Caldwell, Parrish, and if we get one more, Am I missing someone?
Yeah. I don't know who, though, because I wasn't listening. Sorry. I was thinking about what we were talking about.
Parrish, Merritt, Caldwell,
Durham, Tsatas.
Tsatas. So there's the 5 that match the Brisbane 5.
But one of them at Brisbane is a predominant winger.
Yep, one of those 5 has to be a prominent winger as well. You pick the one. Is it Parrish? Is it Tsatas? Is it Merritt? It's not Caldwell.
It's not Tsatas.
It's not Tsatas.
Yeah, look, there's no answer. We're
I think it's Durham.
we're bickering for no reason here because we don't know. Not
But
bickering.
anyway, it's not a bad problem to have.
Not at all. And we're going to stop talking about it because it's probably really boring at this
People are
point.
going, who gives a fuck?
And
We'll just lose to Geelong next week. We'll be crap again.
I wonder if there's any other supporter base that does this. Just has such fluctuating emotions.
St Kilda?
Maybe, but they've been so shit for so long. I mean, we at least have members who remember winning a premiership. Like
They barely have members that are alive.
yeah, that's what I mean. So
Yeah.
like, at least there's an old guard here.
When was it 69 or 68 or something?
60
Something
something.
Anyway,
Any hoozle. All right, we might wrap it up there. I think
Yep.
we've probably gone off on too much of a tangent there, but yeah.
give us some feedback on your thoughts on the 5 that'll play midfield.
Yeah, do that. I think this podcast, I feel like, was a bit messy, a bit all over the place, but I think that's
I don't
okay
think so.
with a pre-season game. I don't know. Anyway.
I don't think so. But that's your view. Again, give us a view on that one. Who's right, Nathan or Sam?
That's exactly right. And again, we appreciate so much the feedback we got last week. It was really lovely.
Yeah, we did. Yep.
Yeah, go Dons.
Go Bombers.